What's up, guys? It's Yank here with 47 North Gaming. I am back with a different video. As you can see, it's not a game. Well, I mean, it kind of is to some people, I suppose, but this is a little bit about the U.S. Presidential election coming up. So if you don't want to hear about politics, then go find a different video. I will leave you a link for you to go enjoy something different, probably Rocket League or anything other than politics. So look for that either on the screen or in the description below, or check the side panel. Honestly, I don't care. If you want to hold a grudge over the fact that I'm talking politics, so be it. Ranting about it in my comment section won't gander any attention from me. Now, if you do want to have some opinions and have some, actual discussion, feel free to leave a comment. I will talk with actual, people looking to actually discuss the issue rather than just rant about them. But anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about the election cycle and a little bit about the system we're currently stuck with. So, first off, I want to say anybody that is able to vote should vote. That's because everyone says, "Oh, it's your duty," and this and that. It's not your duty. You have the right to not vote. Nobody's going to make you go vote. But if you want to have a say in what's going to happen, and if you want to have the ability to have an opinion later on, then make your voice heard and vote. I don't care who it's for. If it's Donald Duck, and go for it. I mean, it's not ideal, but I guess if that's what you want to do, then so be it. I would rather people go out and vote, but vote with an informed decision, than not vote at all, because that is kind of how we got into this mess, is that there's not enough people voting. But I always caution it, though, with it's got to be an informed decision. So I guess we'll touch that first. Informed decisions. You need to go, if you're registered to vote, because unfortunately it's too late to go register, and it's probably too late to get your absentee ballot unless you are living local and just won't be able to get to the polls. You can still go to your clerk's office, pick that up, get it taken care of, and get that turned in time. Since those do have to be returned, and so absentee voters, you got to remember, you got to return your ballot to the polling station that you're supposed to return it, your polling station. So if you live out of state currently, or you're away, you need to start mailing that in soon, because that ballot has to be in the hand of the county clerk, or whoever, the voting clerk, or whoever's in charge of your district. Needs to be in their hands by the time the polls close on November 8th. I think my form said at 5, but I know the polls are open later than that. But basically, it's got to be in hand, so that way they can count it. So, what I recommend doing is, if you're going to the polls on November 8th, and you aren't absentee balloting, if you're going to the polls on November 8th, go to your state's website, go find your county clerk's page, or polling page, and there should be a button somewhere on there to get a mock ballot. Now I would take this, print it off, and fill it out. Now, or at least put notes on it. You wouldn't necessarily have to fill it out, but it makes life easy. Now I say this is because everybody knows that the presidential election is going on, but there's also representatives, some state representatives, along with national representatives. You've got local elections that go on. You've got maybe local millages, and they're all important things, and they're all merit attention. But you need to make an informed decision on those, so that way whoever gets in can then represent your ideals or your views. Or if it's the case of the millage, maybe you don't want your tax dollars going towards new parks. Maybe you'd rather have it towards infrastructure, or whatever is up to vote. Regardless, you need to vote on those for those to actually take place. So it's best to get the mock ballot. Do your Googling and your searching, and I would recommend not listening to the media, Go look up the issues, go look at the facts, don't look at the opinions on everything. Form your own opinion. Look at the facts, make your own opinion. Don't use other people's opinions to make your own opinion, because that is another reason why we're in where we're at right now with the whole presidential election thing now. So, you take your absentee, or you take your, not absentee, the mock ballot, fill it out, and then you can fold it up, you can put it in your purse, put it in your pocket, take it with you to the polling station. Now, you can't have that out while you're standing in line and you're standing around other people at the polling station. That would actually be a breach of election laws or rules or whatever. You can't push for a particular position or a particular person or view while you're standing there. So just keep that in your pocket or a coat or your purse or whatever, and save it for when you get to the voting booth. Now, you'll hand over your ID or however your system works, but most places do it by ID because they got either the chip or the magnetic strip on them to just verify that you are in fact registered to vote. Once they verify that, they're going to give you a ballot. You go over to a booth and you close the curtain, you get in there, and you open up your ballot. Now, you got your ballot out. Now this is when you can pull out your mock ballot that you filled out earlier and put notes on. You can pull it out and put it next to your current ballot, because they're going to look very similar. Now, they do have the option to change the format a little bit from the mock to the actual, so double check, make sure you're actually filling out the right section. But all the content from your mock ballot will be on the actual ballot, allowing you to make your informed decisions very easily. It makes the stress of voting a lot lower too. So just keep that in mind. That's just a tip I use. If you're absentee, nice thing is you can just have the ballot out on your desk while you're doing your searches. But I would recommend not having your ballot out so you don't do gut reaction fill out. I would think on it first, but that is up to you. So cool. Got voting taken care of. So you're all going to go out there, you're all going to vote. Now, which direction you vote, that's entirely up to you. Base it on your ideals. Don't base it on the media, or don't base it on the lesser of two evils. Now, I say that because that's part of the reason why we're in the situation we're at now, is that these two parties have kind of strongholded the system. Now, part of it is because the system's not built very well for more than a couple of parties to have a real good say in the matter, because it's based on the Electoral College. Excuse me. I did one take of this earlier, and I guess I'm tiring myself out talking about politics. Anyway, 238 electors are spread across the U.S. And now their spread is based on the population, and every 10 years when the Census Bureau takes a census, they kind of redistribute those around, so that way you get a good balance of representation in the electoral system with the population. But there comes a problem with the first-to-the-post system that we use. First-to-the-post system meaning that if you win the state by one popular vote, let's say California, you're going to get 55 electors from California, or whatever the state's electors is. It is an all-or-nothing system. This creates a huge problem when you have an imbalance of party representation versus population location. We ran this in the 2000 election where one candidate got the popular vote by, I think it was like 51 point something %, whereas the president had less votes but more electorates. He had 271. Now, to win, you have to have 270. That is what the ruling is on it. You have to have 270 electoral votes to get the presidency. If neither candidate reaches that point, then I think it goes to like the Senate. Maybe it's House of Representatives. I want to say it's the Senate, though, and they then will decide who's president. We haven't really had to use that before, so I haven't looked it up, so don't quote me on that. I probably should educate myself more on that. But that's honestly, this video is not about the electoral system. It's just about voting and the system and how we've gotten to where we're at. So because of that, you only need to win, I think it's like 11 or 12 states to become president. You could get 0 votes in a majority of the states, but if you win California, Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey, and those are the only states you have to win. You could win each one of those states I just listed by 1 vote to get those electoral, because you're going to get all of them, remember, and be the president. That means every other state that was not listed there, so that is a majority of the states, you get 0 votes. You have 0 popularity in those states, and you would be the president of the United States. And therein lies part of the problem as to why we only have 2 parties. It is really hard to gain ground in our presidential system. It's almost impossible. Let's put it that way. It's almost impossible. In 1992, I think it was like Rick Perot, he got 18 point some odd, basically just shy of 20% of the popular vote. He had 0 electoral votes. Why? Because he couldn't win a single state. However, he did have 1/5 of the general populace that wanted him as president of the United States. And that is why you have so many people that don't like the system. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with the system either. It's created this stronghold between 2 parties. However, because of that, a lot of people will say, okay, well, I gotta vote Republican or Democrat because otherwise my vote doesn't count. Well, it's not entirely true either. Your vote counts. It counts at the state level. If you vote, let's say for, Republican, in this example, if you vote Republican and the Republicans win, your vote has counted. If you vote Republican and the Democrats win, well, now your vote in the state level, it counted. It counted to get those electoral, but this is where it doesn't count. Once it leaves outside the state, it's listed as a vote in the popular vote, but the popular vote doesn't mean anything at the national level, which is what's really messed up about the system. But I still would encourage you to vote, and I would still encourage you to vote your mind, which means third party and write-ins are a valid vote as well. Now, I say that because if you don't vote, so if you go out, or if you don't go out on November 8th and you don't vote, one, I personally say then you can't complain and bitch about politics because you didn't have a say, but that's for a different discussion. But if you don't vote at all, you're basically voting for the Democrats and the Republicans at the same time. You are voting for the 2-party system. You are part of the problem because there are more than 50% of the people that are eligible to vote, whether they're registered to vote or not. That's a different story. But eligible people is what I'm talking about right now. Over 50% of the eligible people in the United States this year will likely not go out and vote. That means that the fate of the nation is being decided by less than half of the nation. And that's absurd. So you should go out and vote. If you vote third party or you vote write-in, even like I was joking earlier, if you write in Donald Duck, so be it. It's not probably the smartest choice in the world since it's not somebody that could actually run. But if you've hit that point and there's really nobody you can write in, or you can't, there's nobody you can get behind, then write somebody in. It can be your neighbor, it could be yourself. You can write somebody in and it's fine. Writing somebody in or picking a third party, assuming the third party, goes with your views, and that's when again I say you gotta vote your views. It's a vote against both the Republican and the Democratic Party. That is a vote against the 2-party system because you want something different. That is still reflected in the populist vote, or the popular vote. It's reflected that you went out and voted, and probably many others, went out and voted not for the Republicans and, at the same time, not for the Democrats. Now, will it make a difference this year as far as the Electoral College? No. However, it will make a statement against the Democrat and Republican stronghold that there is currently on the system. It will be a vote for changing the system, basically. There's always every election cycle, there's always a group that want to change the system. The problem is we can't change the system during a cycle. We need to do it between cycles. So we need to take our feelings of the system's broken, and same thing with the Democrat and Republican national convention systems and their primaries. That whole system needs to be revamped. But you can't revamp it while you're using it. You need to revamp it while we're not using it. So after the election system or cycle, we need to change the system, or at least modify the system. If the parties will notice, and the government and people will notice, if a large portion of the populace goes out and votes, let's just hypothetically say one of the third parties, Green or the Libertarian, if everybody that didn't like the Democrat or Republican options voted for the third parties that are out there, the third parties would have attention, because even if they get, just like in 1992, even if they get 0 electoral votes, there is maybe 20% or 30% of the populace will say, it'll show up on the record the populace was not happy with the Democrat or Republican options. And the last I checked, this is one of the most unpopular presidential lineups that we've had ever. Let that sink in. This is the most unpopular presidential election cycle we have had ever. Yet we're still bickering about Republican and Democrats. Who is the shiniest of the two turds that are available? And that should not be the way the election system works. It should be all about who is the best to run the country, who is the best option for representing what the people want or what the people need. Not who can be, who is less likely to be thrown in jail, who is less likely to make an ass out of themselves. You know what? Doesn't really matter. You should be voting for the ideals. So even let's say the third parties got in and somehow miraculously won a couple states, got a couple electoral votes, it would send a statement and a message to the country, the politicians, the parties that are currently in control, that the populace is not happy. Now, if you view the candidates that are available, Republican or Democratic candidates that are available, and you like what they have, by all means, please vote for them. Vote your views, though. Don't vote one party because you don't like the other party more. Should vote your ideals. I think that was the message I was trying to get across in my first cut of this, and I actually ended up pausing it and still talking. Kind of glad I didn't record, because I think I got the message across better this time. There's a lot less facts as far as history of the system, and a lot more just my own personal opinion. Now that I've kind of gotten a little bit fired up about it, I've been able to give you guys my opinion. Now, as I mentioned, I don't know if it was in the first take that you guys won't see, or this take, but I said I won't be saying who I voted for or how I voted, but you can make your own assumptions that I voted my mind on every single item on that ballot. I am so glad that my state, along with many other states, are getting rid of the policy of voting down ticket or voting straight ticket, which is great, because if you have the option to take the lazy way out and just say, I want everything Republican or everything to be Democrat, you're not voting the issues, you're voting parties, and that is why we got into this problem in the first place. It's the same reason why nothing is being done at the government level or at the national government level. You notice for the last few cycles of Congress, they have been Congress, they have been some of the least productive classes in U.S. history. Why? Because they're voting party lines only. They will not go across the aisle because it's all about the party. It's all about being reelected. It's not about the issues anymore. And part of that is our fault. Actually, a lot of it is our fault. We are not holding our representatives accountable, but at the same time, we're not holding ourselves accountable. We are allowing ourselves to vote straight down the ticket, which I am glad it is now becoming a thing in more and more states that you cannot do that. You have, if you want to vote, you have to actually physically fill out the bubble for every single category. So if you want to vote straight party, if you're a diehard Democrat or a diehard Republican, so be it. You can go down and you can still go check off every single box or fill in every single bubble that is a Democrat or every single bubble that's a Republican. There's nothing wrong with that as long as they represent your views. But it's human nature that if you give somebody the easy way out, 9 out of 10 people are going to take the easy way. They're going to say, oh, well, I'll just make life easy because, voting's such a drag as it is. No, voting should be an exciting thing. The candidates right now don't make it exciting. It's because you either haven't done your research and looked into why things are the way they are, or you just haven't considered the fact that there are other options out there. There are always more options out there than what the media tries to tell you. And that is why I always say, especially around this time of year, don't watch the media. Don't read those articles. Okay, maybe check a poll every now and again, but we all know that those are about as accurate as throwing a dart blindfolded after being spun twice, as in they just aren't accurate at all. They don't poll that many people in comparison to the general populace, and even when they do, nobody's decided at that point. And you can extrapolate data and stats all you want in the favor of what you want it to look like. So a media outlet could skew the result. Not totally within reason and totally within statistical merit, but stats can be skewed or framed in a different light, and you got to remember that, which is why I always say look at the facts. Look at the facts and form your own opinion before you make your voting decisions. So I guess this turned less into an education about where we're at, which is what my intention was, and more about just getting out there and vote. It's not a civil duty, but it is your right. You do have the right to vote. You have the right to have an opinion. And I feel bad for everybody that this is their first time around having to deal with this. But at the same time, this is actually a great educational piece, because this year more than ever, it is important to check the issues. Read the issues, because the media has been covering absolutely nothing about the candidates, more so than any other year that I know of. At the same time, the bickering, the debates were useless, absolutely useless this year. Maybe got a couple of issues, but it was more of a chip shot at each other, which is why it'd be nice to bring in those third parties, bring in some more opinions, kind of level the playing field out. But ultimately, you need to form your own opinions, and to do that, you need to do research on the facts, not opinions, not articles about this, that, and the other thing. It's just look up the facts. So that is why this year, November 8th, get out and vote. Do so with an informed decision, and do so with your ballot or your mock ballot that you have prepared and ready to go. So I've been, I think, ranting along far too long at this point. To anybody that can survive, we're coming up on almost 24 minutes of this. Any of you that can survive listening to me rant about politics for 24 minutes, please leave a comment. Please give it a thumbs up. Congratulations. I will probably give you a shout out if you do it. Just so I know you guys got here, tell me what your favorite animal is, or tag a fun puppy video or cat video or animal video in the comments, because I think we all need it this year. I think we definitely need some funny animal videos. So with that, I will bid you adieu. I will not be doing live stream tonight. I've got too many other things going on, but I hope to resume that next Thursday. Meanwhile, I will be releasing a video tomorrow on our normal schedule, hopefully, because we're getting back into the swing of things here. And then next week should be back to normal. I will do some Election Day special just so that way you guys have some fun content to watch, because it may be a disaster watching the media once again. So with that, I will catch you guys in the next video. But until then, peace.